There are various reasons why people consume media. For some, it's a form of escape, allowing imagination and perspective to engage in something delightful. Others may consume things simply because of the hype and wanting to see what everyone is talking about, or purely out of curiosity. I'm gonna tell you now though, that if there is one trait that we all share, it's that when we consume, we seek to enjoy. In the case of anime and manga, everybody ideally would want to watch something or read something new and enjoy themselves as much as they can. When the ride is over, you don't get to consume something for the first time again unless you get amnesia. Enjoyment is such a simple idea that reflects us as people. What tropes, stories, characters, or moments we enjoy contribute to our list of favorites, and altogether is what makes us a fan of anything. At the same time, it also contributes to our endless debating, given what we feel is superior to one another. We speak on what we know, and we speak on what we enjoy. Of course, enjoyment is subjective, as what everyone may find humorous, emotional, nuanced, or just flat out consumable all depends on the person. It's because enjoyment is subjective that you truly should not get pressed over what people find enjoyable, regardless of the degree or reasoning. However, this is where the coin flip lies. The anime community has always been a place where what you enjoy can end up in the line of fire. People have this massive ego when it comes to series that have its layers versus series that come out more straightforward but excels in its strengths. As I always say, there is nothing wrong with a series accomplishing what it sets out to do, because people are going to enjoy said thing regardless, and there's no need for it to be something that it's not if a formula works. Even if it gets messy during serialization, every author knows the bread and butter of their creation, and as such will be sure to showcase the best parts of a series. Whereas MHA shines with its emotional weight, JJK is the direct opposite. The series that comes to mind today, however, is going to bring us to Solo Leveling. Now, before somebody attempts to execute me in the comments, I want to set the record straight and say that I am anime only for Solo Leveling, and every now and then I do enjoy my power fantasy junk food series. After all, a lot of us grew up with SAO, and naturally this series has a lot of that textbook formula that scratches all the right places. Do I think it's a masterpiece? Absolutely not, but it's easily one of the best action series to come out recently that continues to deliver on what it does best time and time again. Watching Solo Leveling to me is like going to Wendy's and ordering a Baconator with a large fry and a high C fruit punch. I eat it up and I enjoy it. To absolutely nobody's surprise, however, the success of the series and seeing it being so widely enjoyed genuinely rubs people the wrong way, borderline prompting condescending attitudes. Now, there's a major difference in people admitting that Solo Leveling is just not their cup of tea and moving on, and then people who try to make it a talking point about having a good time. The first option is understandable. As I said earlier, enjoyment is subjective. Some people don't want to watch the MC farm his way to the top, and I get it. However, there is also a vocal crowd of people who get a bit too far out their lane, complaining about how Jinwoo is the typical OP MC and the story is cliche and predictable, and that as long as this story has its step A to step B formula, then surely there's no way anybody could possibly enjoy this show, right? Now, what I'm about to say may absolutely blow some of your minds out there, but this is what we call the method, aka if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You'd be surprised at how many people love watching the cool MC do the cool stuff with the cool action animated really well on a weekly basis. That is the method of the show, and if that is so hard to understand, then I really don't know what to tell you outside of, you know, get a grip maybe. Criticism will always be valid, but have you ever considered that maybe, and just maybe, that your criticism is more of a personal problem that is dependent on your type of enjoyment? I'm just saying, don't shoot the messenger. It's not like this should be rocket science, but I think people have this impression that everyone is on the same page as to what deserves the hype and doesn't. However, I came to realize that in the midst of all of this, the real issue people have deep down is its simplicity. Listen, we're 2 seasons in so far, and outside of some foreshadowing elements here and there for bigger things to come, I feel as if the plot is pretty straightforward. That, however, is a problem, because we are in a time period now where if something is going to get its flowers, it's gotta pack something special. However, even the idea of something special is subjective, because what may stand out to some might just be okay to others. People want stories that they can dig deep into to be in those high places among the charts, which has led to a form of superiority complex. If if it's not deep, if it doesn't touch on those noteworthy themes and messages, or doesn't offer a very specific approach beyond the surface, a series can be frowned upon. It sounds really stupid out loud because it is, but it's a real thought process that nobody would admit out loud, but you can see it in the way people discuss this series. The sad thing is that it wasn't always like this, because when you go back to One Punch Man Season 1, that was very much enjoyed by everybody. Though, I guess Jinwoo being a little edgy does kill the vibe for some people. Before Season 2 ended, Solo Leveling passed up One Piece on Crunchyroll in terms of its popularity, and you best believe that the agendas were in full motion. Do I think Solo Leveling is better than One Piece? Absolutely not. However, you best believe that some people took it to heart. You'd see those prompts asking people to name something Solo Leveling does better than One Piece, but here's the kicker, it doesn't need to do anything better if the people love what it does right now already. People who get pressed over stuff like this reek of insecurity. In a logical sense, you had almost every reactor in the community watching this weekly, enjoying themselves during the break of One Piece as well. If you put 2 and 2 together, you may just get that 4, as to no wonder it did pass up One Piece. At the end of the day, all of this should not be a big deal, it's just people consuming something that they enjoy, but it is. People enjoying a straightforward formula is criminalized, and Solo Leveling showcased this pretty vividly, but it's not limited just to this story either. I remember when Black Clover used to get this kind of conversation years ago. I don't think Black Clover is as nearly straightforward as Solo Leveling, but I also don't think that I need a degree to understand the series either. You'd see all types of comments about it being mediocre or generic, but if people are enjoying it, then who's really losing here? Don't even get me started about the conversations regarding the animation, as if people really understand what goes on behind the scenes these days. Which, while we're on the topic of it, do you know how stupid it sounds to say that an anime is carried by the process that makes an anime an anime? The way this community makes up arguments for the sake of slander truly needs to be studied. I get what people are trying to say when we get carried by animation takes, but that in itself is a lose-lose argument. If you produce good results, you're getting carried, and if you produce poor results, you get slandered. Yet even so, people cannot help what they like, and quite frankly, they shouldn't have to worry about anybody else's opinion because it is objectively trivial in comparison. As an audience, we know what we love when we see it, and you don't really need to have some major explanation to validate your enjoyment. Nobody should have to have an argument on standby as to why they may like something like Invincible. If you're having a good time, then that means something is hitting right. This isn't to say that there aren't series that invoke some serious discussion, because look at Arcane for example. The difference is that people applied themselves with that level of critical thinking, thus we have the result that we did. In the mindset of the average consumer, a lot of people are going to have a lot more fun watching and enjoying things like Solo Leveling, Windbreaker, and Kaiju number 8. They can absorb what's coming at them at face value and move on with their day. And if there is something worth talking about beyond the usual formula, then that's great. I also want to put out there that this isn't about something being immune to criticism either, because every story has criticism. It's more so the fact that we continue to go down this cycle that when something blows up, people attempt to do either one of two things. Either downplay the heartbeat of the story or shame it for not having that special factor. There's always somebody out there who feels the need to make their complaints somebody else's problem, who refuse to let people be who they are while staying in their own lane. It's a sad reality that doesn't stop here, because you will always have a crowd that actually gets upset that a more straightforward or formulaic show has a better presentation than something else. I've seen people get really upset at the fact that Solo Leveling's adaptation cleared Sakamoto days. The quality was night and day, but this is simply how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Not everything people hype up or have high expectations for will get that insane adaptation. Just look at the beginning after the end. Yet who are we to say that Solo Leveling doesn't deserve its dedicated staff? Last time I checked, this was a medium of passion, or have we all forgot the foundation of why we create for the sake of agenda? I personally think that this highlights a deeper issue with how anime fans treat staff like merchandise or trading cards rather than human beings, looking at how people complain about talent and where they go, but that's a video for another day. Even so, every story we see animated still originates from someone's own hard work. And Solo Leveling sibling's case, knowing the former illustrator especially that passed away, I can't imagine seriously being upset. Years later, all the artwork and hours that man put in was worth it all in the end, and now has the entire world tuned in. That is what you call leaving a torch to be carried, and the Solo Leveling staff are doing just that. Is it fair to say that an author or illustrator's efforts should not be met with a competent adaptation just because their story is not some complex behemoth? Does Windbreaker deserve bad animation because it's not some game changer? Does Witchwatch not deserve their opening directed by Megumi Ishitani because it's not a One Piece level narrative? What validates JJK being worth it and not this, because either story is enjoyed by the world? Deep down, you know there's not an answer that makes sense, and what you really want to say is what you'll never say out loud. Anime fans love policing other people's enjoyment, their opinions, their methods of engagement, because everyone is unable to come to terms with their own ego and realize their place. It'll never happen, but if agreeing to disagreeing was a widely adopted mindset, or simply engaging in things that do make you happy was a norm, you'd be surprised at how much better conversating would be. Not to mention, we have bigger issues to worry about. AI slop is slowly becoming a bigger issue, and I feel like instead of worrying about what or how people enjoy real art, we need to shift our focus. We should be supporting everything we reasonably can, protecting our artists and VAs, and most importantly, reminding the world what the real soul of animation is. Of course, if it were that easy, I wouldn't be talking about such a thing in the first place. I say this all to say that no matter what genre or demographic, enjoy what you want, man. I don't care if your favorite series is 100 GFs, when all is said and done, what you enjoyed is what matters most, and that's something that can never be taken away. A bit of a tangent for me this week, but to be honest, I think I enjoyed this one, and knowing the foolishness that happens around this camp, I know it won't be the last. With that, ladies and gentlemen, will bring me to the end of this video. As always, thanks for watching, and make sure to leave all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be well out there until we meet again in the next video.